Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Melissa. How was your week?
Great.
Closing?
What?
Did I see you had a closing?
I had a closing Friday and then I have one on Monday coming up. So,
Yay!
yay.
Very exciting. Good
Good.
morning, Trey. How are you this morning?
Good. Can you hear me?
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning. How's it going?
Very good. I'm enjoying this fall weather. My body hasn't quite adjusted. I'm cold, but I don't want to act like I'm cold because I like it so much better than being hot. So I don't know. I
Right.
haven't quite decided all this out, but it's beautiful out.
Yeah. Hopefully it warms up. I think it's supposed to get in the 70s.
That's good. I can just stay at the 70s and be happy forever and ever.
Yeah. hmm
All right, Miss Pamela, how are you this morning?
Oh, good morning. I'm slow getting started.
It's that cold weather, right? You
Yes,
wake up and it's just so nice to burrow back down into the covers.
yes, I'm still trying to get it together over here.
Awesome. All right. Good morning, Miss Valerie. It's good to see you. Oh, you're muted if you're talking to me. All right. Somebody tell me something good. What happened really? Well, Melissa, we already know how to closing, has another one on Monday. What else good happened this week?
I had a signed listing agreement.
Yay! Awesome. A signed listing agreement. Where did the listing come from? Who's your client?
It's my in-laws. They have a
Okay.
patio home. So it was like an investment property they were renting out. And now they're looking to sell it because they can only rent out to immediate family. So they have to get rid of it. They don't have
Very
one
good.
anybody in their family to sell it to or rent it to. So
So
I'm
it
gonna help
came
them
from
with
your
that.
sphere. Why is
Yes,
it
yes.
important that we focus on where our business comes from?
For referrals.
Yeah, for referrals or so we know where to put our efforts in, right? So we know
Yeah.
what to do. So Melissa, your two, where did they come from?
Here, they're from baseball.
Awesome, baseball
Yeah.
sphere. That's good. You don't have any choice. You have to spend your time in baseball.
I do.
No choice. But look, it's double duty, right?
I have two listings coming up, and one's a referral from another agent, and another one is Sphere. So,
That's working. We have to talk to everyone we know.
yeah.
We all have a tendency to assume that people know we're available to help them, but they don't necessarily know that. Good morning, Anne. Are you talking to us this morning? Are you listening? Oh, she's muted and she's not talking, so that must mean she's listening. Good morning, Dan. How are you?
Doing well, thank you.
How was your day yesterday?
Pretty good. Looks like we're gonna put an offer in on a lot as soon as we get their financing in order, so.
Very good. I messaged Colin last night. He said he could take care of you, no problem.
Okay, good deal. Yeah, he contacted me.
Very good. Um, did you get your well issue resolved?
Well, we've got a second test going and we did find out that it is required that you do a whole house filter, the entire supply coming into the house. So I learned some things on that, for the lead.
You might share with everybody so everybody else knows this if it ever comes up for them.
Yeah, so we had a house that went VA and it required a water test on the well. The test came back fine on the coliform and the nitrates and the nitrites, but it came up high on the lead. And what we found out is it's very common, it's very uncommon that that would happen in Indianapolis, but it is somewhat common if you don't let the water run long enough. And so I did some research on what we have to do. And the first thing we're going to do is retest it, make sure the water is run long enough because it has been an empty house. And retest it. And if that doesn't work out, we found out that you have to do a whole house filtration system that it either involves activated charcoal or reverse osmosis.
And how expensive is that? Do you know? Is that
Well, my understanding is that Lowe's and Menards sell one that's about $160 that supposedly will remove the lead and heavy metals.
oh, all right. Well, that's not a wildly expensive. So it's just a little bit of a pain, but not wildly expensive.
But that would be self-installed.
And is this your listing or is this a buyer?
This is my listing.
Oh, this is your fun listing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Family
Ursula
is
rears her
fun.
ugly head.
Family is fun.
They are fun.
Good morning, Armand. How was your week? You're muted.
It was pretty good, but I'd like it to be better, so I'm working on that.
Okay, we're working on being better. I love it. All right, well, it's 6 after. We've given 5 minutes for all the tardy people, so we're going to get started because I value your time and mine. So today we're going to talk about two things. One, we're going to finish up the shift. So for the last, I don't know, couple months, we have been working through each of the shift tactics. And you know, it's funny, I was thinking this week about shift, and I was thinking that, you know, we start off talking about it and we think this is going to be like this big monumental thing that happens. How long does the shift take? Like, how long does it take for the shift to happen?
Years.
Months.
Could be months ago. It's a long time, right? We don't know. We don't know how long it's going to be, but it
Think-
doesn't happen overnight. And so
Yeah.
a lot of times what I think we feel is, does anybody feel this way? Like, yeah, everybody keeps talking about the shift, but I don't see it, right?
Right.
Do we think that? I don't see it. But if
Yeah.
you stop and you're really, really still, you'll see it, you'll feel it, right? But when you're constantly moving, you're still doing deals, you still have listings, you have closings, like you don't really feel it. But I think that's one of the things that we need to be careful about, that we don't dismiss it because it's not happening fast. Because if
Mhm.
we dismiss it because it's not happening fast, we're going to look up and guess what's going to happen? It's going to be upon us, right? And
Yeah.
and we're not going to have done what we needed to do to be in step with it. Remember that I love visuals, and I love that I think it's Wayne Gretzky, but and I'm not a see, I can't even think of hockey. Couldn't even think of the name of the sport. I'm not a hockey fan, but I love the concept of skating to where the puck is going to be, not where it is right now, right? Because if we skate to where it is right now, we aren't going to get there. My ex-husband was a race car driver, and my daughter, when she was a teenager, she wrecked the car in a mailbox because she was trying to not hit a squirrel. And he told us that when there's a wreck on the racetrack, what the drivers do is they drive to the wreck. Why do they drive to the wreck when there's a wreck on the racetrack?
I would guess that because of where the car might be skidding to.
Yeah, it's not going to be there, right? If I go to where the wreck is, then it's not going to be there. So his advice to my daughter was to drive to the squirrel instead of trying to swerve to miss the squirrel, right? If she drove to the squirrel probably wouldn't be there, except for we know what squirrels do, right? They stop and freeze. So it wasn't the best advice, but it was a good thing to think about as far as this goes with shift. All right, so what happened this week in relationship to the shift? Does anybody know what the feds did this week?
Oh, they went up
Yeah.
0.75%.
Another 0.75%, right? Now, does that have an immediate impact on mortgage rates?
Well, they somewhat figure in advance a bit, but it's not direct correlation.
Yeah, it's not direct, but it doesn't mean it just because. So if you look at it, you go, well, yeah, they increased the interest rates, but it didn't change mortgage rates. So it must not impact us. Does it impact us in the long run?
Absolutely.
You know, did anybody ever watch Trading? Am I too old? Do you guys know what Trading Places is? The movie Trading Places?
Yeah. Yes. Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, it's such a good movie. But remember, that was orange juice futures, right? That's what that whole thing was all about, was orange juice futures. And I never could quite understand the futures, but I think mortgage rates are a lot like the free futures, right? Because what the interest rate that they just set, that 0.75%, it's going to affect our future interest rates after the money that they have goes to the secondary mortgage markets and they get more back, right? So eventually it's going to show up. Yes, Armand.
It's probably more like the shift concept, because what a future is, it is a prediction or a bet, more so. I don't know why it's in the stock market, but it's like a bet that some product or grouping of products or a company is going to make it or not. It's usually on newer companies that they're done on.
Well, they have
And it's
futures
like-
for orange juice and future for oil. So what they do is they bet on you're exactly right. It's a bet on the future. It's a bet on the need, the supply and demand of the future.
Right.
It's exactly what the mortgage companies are doing right now with their mortgage rates. And that's why when there's a 0.75% increase at the feds, it doesn't automatically increase the mortgage rates. As a matter of fact, what's happened a couple times when the feds have increased the mortgage rates?
Yeah.
Or they increase the interest rates, the mortgage rates have gone down a little bit, right? Because the mortgage companies are playing with this as well. And here's the thing. You don't have to know exactly what's going on, but you have to have an idea and you have to know. So that shift tactic 1, right? When we looked at all of the shift tactic 1, did you guys see my screen now?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Mhm.
1 was get real, get right. What's get real, get right?
Your mindset.
Mindset.
Your mindset. So what should your mindset be right now?
My mindset right now is that it is still under historic lows as far as interest rates go, and it is a wonderful time to buy.
I love that.
I,
If that's your mindset, then what are you sharing with your buyers? That is not what you're sharing with them, right?
Yes, exactly.
All right. What else is your mindset?
the number one question I get all the time is, wow, so has the market like completely stopped? And I'm like, no, I'm as busy as I've ever been. It's amazing time because buyers are able to get houses. You don't have to see it within 25 minutes of it being listed.
Yeah.
But
Well, what's been happening was crazy, right?
Yeah.
You can't keep that craziness in play. It just didn't work, right? It was very challenging, right? So now, but think about this. I was on a call yesterday with Scott Toombs, who is going to be our bold coach. And he said that during the last shift, 330,000 agents left the industry. Now, why do you suppose that during the last shift, did people still need to buy homes and sell homes?
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
People still need someplace to live.
Mhm.
And some people even chose to buy homes or sell homes because just because there was a recession, did it affect everybody equally? No. So what happened to those 330,000 agents? Why did they leave the industry?
They got scared and they didn't adapt.
I love it. Fear. And they didn't do their job,
Mhm.
right? They didn't do their job. And for the last couple of years, I'm sorry, you could have business by accident fairly easily. It kind of fell out of the sky. Now, was it easy to close? No, because like you said, we had to show 25 houses instead of 3 houses, and we had to write 15 offers instead of 1 offer. So it wasn't easy to close, but it was super easy to get the business. Now it's not going to be super easy to get the business because we have to find the motivated, and that means that we have to do our job. Somebody remind me, what's our job? What's the 5 things that Gary says is the 5 things we have to do every day? What is it?
Lead generation,
Lead generation,
follow up.
lead
Right.
follow-up. That's 2.
Appointments,
Go on appointments,
negotiation,
negotiate contracts,
and what was the other one? I
we do
forget.
it at 8:30.
Oh, script practice.
Yeah,
Yes, we have to practice. We
Yeah.
have to practice our craft, right? So with lead generation, lead follow-up, going on appointments, negotiating contracts, I throw some business admin stuff in there, and practice, right? We have to practice. Are you doing those? That's part of getting real, get right. Am I doing my job? Has anybody here ever had a job outside of real estate?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if your boss said that these are the 5 things that you have to do every day, how many days could go by where you didn't do those 5 things before it would impact you?
Very few.
And then how would it impact you? If you weren't doing your job, you weren't doing your 5 things you were supposed to do every day, you weren't doing your job, how long would you get to keep your job?
Not too
Not
long.
very
Not very
long.
long.
So part of get real, get right. Am I doing my job? All right, you can't control the market, but you can control your outlook and your response to the market. When we talked about get real, get right, your action item was what? What is your action item? What are you supposed to be doing around get real, get right?
Well, you got to make sure you know your numbers.
You got to know your numbers. I love that. So how many of you guys know your numbers?
Interest rate today, the national average is 6.6.
6.6. Okay. How about number of listings on market, number of expireds? Have they gone up or down? Stayed the same?
Number of listings has risen slightly.
Awesome. All right. How about days on market?
Days on market is up probably 200%.
Yeah,
Oh,
days on
wow.
market's up significantly. Absolutely. All right. So we got to make sure we do that. All right. Shift tactic 2. Remargin your business. This is about visiting your money. How many of you guys put on your calendar a time? How many of you time blocked for visiting your money?
I visit my wife and she visits our money.
You leverage the visiting your money. Okay, Dan, I got that. That works. You know, if it's not one of your 5 jobs, you are allowed to leverage it. So if you're leveraging visiting your money, but I'm going to ask you a question, Dan, not that this would be the case with your wife, but have you guys heard stories of like very wealthy people that leveraged their money to someone and then found out they were bankrupt later?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Mhm.
So we kind of maybe still, not that your wife's going to bankrupt you, Dan, but don't tell her I said that. But
But if you use a financial advisor, make sure they're a fiduciary.
yeah, there you go. All right. So are you visiting your money? Have you guys gone through and seen, are you paying for a subscription? Right? Are you paying for a subscription that you didn't even know you were paying for? I can't tell you how many people have that. Also ask yourself, is there anything I'm paying for that I don't need right now? Right? And then that's all that is. You have got to manage your expenses.
Carla, can I share something about the debit card subscription that
Yes, ma'am.
I just I went to the bank and I got new debit cards for all of my accounts so that people can start calling me. And I did it on purpose because there was some that I couldn't get a hold of, so that they would stop getting like $5
Automatic pay.
out of my
Yep.
account every month.
I love that. There's also services. There's Truebill and there's another one. There's some services that'll do that for you as well. You pay. I love it. You pay them a monthly subscription so that they can do away with your monthly subscriptions, right? There's a whole other thing there. They were smart, right? If they realize everybody's got the subscription problem, like, yeah. All right, leverage. We talked about leverage just a little bit ago. Have you found any leverage in your business? What's your best leverage that you're using right now?
Main one I'm using is the RISE program.
Okay, you're using leverage for leads. Love that. What else? How about smart plans? Is anybody using smart plans? Are smart plans leverage?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Should you be using smart plans if you're not?
Yeah.
How are you going to communicate with your database 36 to 72 times if you don't have some leverage in place? Remember, the things that we aren't supposed to leverage are those 5 things we just talked about. All right, Dan, you mentioned lead generation. We have to find the motivated. In a shift, nothing becomes more critical than finding those people that need our help. How are you finding that need your help? I was surprised when I did this, and thank you guys for filling out that survey for me, because that's going to help us so much. I went over it with leadership yesterday and it's a big help. So, but one of the things on there was a large percentage of you that really don't feel like you've focused in on your 3 to 5 sources of leads, where you're finding people that need your help. And I know, Dan, you said you went to the School is Cool with Jason on Thursday and maybe found a new lead generation source, right? Sometimes we
Yes.
can find some new ones, but if you need help with that, make sure you schedule a coaching call and let's work through it. We've got to figure out how are we looking for our business? If we don't know how we're looking for our business, what's going to happen?
We're not going to have any.
Well, we're just going to be all over the place, right?
Yeah.
Anybody ever go to the grocery store hungry?
Terrible.
What happens when you go to
Yes,
the
not the
grocery
best
store?
time.
What
I
happens when
spend
you go
more
to the grocery
money.
store hungry? Don't you bring stuff home that you're not even ever going to use? Like everything looks good, right? And it's just not effective. Same thing if you're going to do this for a day and this for a day and this for a day, and you're not going to do anything consistent, and you don't have a plan, it's not going to work. You might get lucky. And how many of you want your business to be by accident, by luck? How long does luck last?
No, really.
All right, now we got to get to the table. So we have to convert those leads. This is why we track our numbers. This is why you have success or accountability reporting every week. How many conversations should it take to get an appointment?
60.
60, right? If you're having 150 conversations and not get an appointment, what needs to happen?
You need to practice your conversations more.
You need to think about what your conversations are. Yeah, what's the best way not to get an appointment?
Don't ask.
Don't ask. If you don't ask, you're not going to get an appointment. Why do we need to get appointments?
Because we're not going to have any business if we don't.
Yeah, we have to get in front of them, right? We can't, we have to get in front of them. We have to get in front of people. All right, so once you've had an appointment, if you're getting appointments, but you're not getting to the closing table, then what do we need to do?
We need to review and practice our presentations.
Yeah, and we need to figure out how to create some urgency for our buyers and sellers, right?
Yep.
What are our buyers and sellers? Let's start with buyers right now. What are our buyers afraid of right now?
They're afraid of
They're
interest
economy.
rates and the falling prices.
They're afraid of interest rates, right? And
And
they think
effect.
what do they think is going to happen with interest rates? What are they afraid of around
You
interest
think-
rates?
Interest rates are going to go up drastically, and they think that the price of homes are going to drop drastically.
All right, so they think that they're looking in the rear view mirror for the interest rates, right? They're thinking that if they buy right now at 6%, that next week it's going to go back to 2 where it was in the summer, right? They're looking in the rear view
Mhm.
mirror. So we have to help them understand that we can't look in the rear view mirror. Ironically enough, they're not looking in the rear view mirror on prices, Dan. You're exactly right. They're projecting into the future and they're thinking the prices are going to fall dramatically. What do the experts say are going to happen with that?
They're still saying that there were a good chance that we could have a 2 to 3% increase for the year.
Yeah, that's what the experts are saying. So how do you help your buyer with those fears?
Well, one thing is get the charts out and show them historically what has happened.
I love it. So you guys have those. They are in your PC library in the Mega Camp 2022 folder. Like there are some charts that Gary gives us that will help you with those buyers. I love that. You can also ask questions, right? Tell me. So that's interesting that you think that's what's going to happen. Tell me, based on what? What makes you feel that way? What makes you think that's going to happen? Like have them tap into the fact that they really are making a decision based on, and then you can ask them, so do you think that making this kind of decision based on, those facts, would you rather base that on facts or assumptions, facts or guesses, right? What would that be? The other thing is in the end, what's the buyer really worried about every month?
Really, their payment.
Monthly payments.
Their monthly payment. So if we can get them back to what they really should be focused on, which is their monthly payment, does it really matter? Does it really matter what the interest rate is if your monthly payment is where you'd like it to be? So
Not really.
we have to get good at asking questions. Yeah. All right. Catch people in your web. We talked a little bit about internet lead conversion. And the one thing that we talked about here was making sure that everybody had done their marketing profile, had their website set up, had their app. Are you sending people your app? If you go to mykw.kw.com, I think one of the reports is you can actually see how many people have downloaded and signed into your app and your website. So you can see how you were doing there. All right. So then we have to price ahead of the market. How many of you guys are still working on your CMAs? Anybody practicing CMAs? Anybody looking at what's happening with prices? They have slowed, like the increase has slowed.
The number of homes that have price decreases has increased.
And why is that? Do you think that's because, do you think price reductions is because home prices are falling or because agents aren't skilled at seller pricing strategies?
Well, I think a lot of it is the agent skill set, and I think that the because we had such a dynamic market and there were so many buyers, and now you'll go 2 weeks and maybe you have two people look at it. People get scared, and so
I think also the homeowners themselves are still kind of remembering last summer and they're like, well, my neighbor's house sold for this, so I should be able to get more. And
Yep, they're looking at the rearview mirror on prices, right? We just
Yeah.
talked about the buyer's rearview mirror is interest rates, the seller's rearview mirror is prices, days on market, right? The fact that they aren't going to have to make any repairs, there's not going to be an inspection, all of those things, right? So how can we be proactive with that, knowing that that's the case with our sellers?
Education, I guess my question is, trying to figure out what questions, open-ended questions to ask about, what to say, about what to do about that. I had this week, I had 2 customers that I talked to for sale by owners that had priced their house for sale lower, but they both knew other realtors, and that's the reason why they did it. So the only hope that I would have is maybe being their second choice of realtor or whatever, but both of them indicated exactly what we're talking about, that they had priced it low to get more offers and to attract more buyers.
Well, the pricing it low to get more offers in this market may not be the strategy that it was before. If you price it low in this market, you may get a low price. You may get a low sales price. Then if you
Right.
follow that strategy, what you may end up with is a seller that's disappointed when the offers come in, right? Or an offer comes in and they may pass. And remember, we always have to we haven't had to tell our sellers this in the last year or so, but what we need to tell our sellers when an offer comes in is this may be our best offer, right? When we get an offer, it could be the best offer we get. We have to be very careful about rejecting offers because then the next one might be less. Because what happens the longer properties on the market?
people think there's something wrong with it.
And
Go
if
ahead,
people
Dan.
think there's something wrong with it, what are they likely going to do if they make an offer?
They're gonna
Low.
offer lower.
Yeah, they're gonna make a lower offer. They're also gonna think if it's been on the market for a long time that the seller might be motivated, desperate, right? So they're gonna make lower offers. So we don't want that to happen. If we price too high, what happens in the end?
No offers.
If we
Yeah.
price too high, we get no offers, no showings, and then we drop the price, and then we drop the price. What's the resulting price?
We're chasing below the market.
We're chasing it constantly. So we're going to end up with a sale price that's less than if we would have priced it right in the first place. So remember, we talked about the strategy of looking at past, present, and future when we do our CMAs right now. You guys remember that conversation? So what's the past? Those are our
Right.
solds, right?
Mhm.
Present.
Our listings.
Present is anything pending, okay? And then the future is anything active. So right now, when you do a CMA, you want to have, if at all possible, you want to have all 3 in your CMA. You want to have some sales, you want to have some pendings, and you want to have some actives. Because that's how you're going to see where the market is right now. Otherwise, we're doing the same thing the buyers are doing, and we're looking in the rearview mirror.
Yeah.
What have you guys been seeing recently with appraisals?
I'm more conservative.
Are they?
I mean, yeah, I feel like the last couple ones I've had have come down under what we had agreed upon.
I wondered about that. So the appraisers are gonna, remember the appraisers is giving what? Or they're giving their opinion of value.
Mhm.
What goes into an appraiser's opinion?
Recent sales.
Recent sales, and what do they add to that?
Condition and what it looks like.
Yes, and their belief on what the market's going to do, because they make
Mhm.
market adjustments, right? And those are highly subjective. So if the appraiser feels that prices are dropping, then he's likely to make a market adjustment that may or may not have some, some validity in the marketplace. So we have to make sure about that. So we have to make sure we're pricing our listings. So how many of you guys have listings coming up? Are you focused on your CMAs? You're focused on your seller conversations. Is there a perfect number? No, there's not a perfect number. In the end, whose decision is it?
The homeowners.
Yes, your seller gets to decide. We just have to educate them. And here's another thing. And yeah, this hasn't been the case for a number of years. If you have an unreasonable seller who doesn't want to price correctly, you can decide that's not a listing for you. Do you want, just for the sake of getting a listing agreement, you're on the market 6 months, you have offers come in, they won't even respond to any of the offers because their price expectations are way out of line. How much are they going to pay you for doing that? If it never
Nothing.
sells? Nothing, right? How many of you guys want to work for free? So remember, unreasonable sellers, you do not have to work with them. You can refer them to someone else, right? If they just won't listen to your advice. All right, so then we got to stand out for the competition. So pricing and staging are the issues of the day in the shift, right? So you have to stand out from the competition. Your property has to look better than everyone else's for the buyers to want to buy it. There is a great last year, every other year. So in the odd years, NAR does a staging survey, and you can go out and pull that, or I think I'll put it in the library for you guys today. But it's really good, and it shows you the value of that. But we had a condo that we staged not that long ago. It had been on the market since April and hadn't had any movement. They took it temporarily off market. We staged it and they had an offer within 6 days. It makes an impact. Vacant houses don't photograph well. And if there's nothing special about the property, there was nothing wrong with this condo. It was just a condo. There was just kind of blah. And we put furniture in it. Now somebody can come in and imagine what it would look like to live there, and they could, I don't know, maybe fall in love a little bit. So staging doesn't have to be whole house staging like my staging company does, though. Staging could just be the conversation that you have with your sellers. And we had a whole class on that, if you remember. What about overgrown bushes? Right? We have to make recommendations. Our job has got to be to say to the seller, before we get this on the market, we're going to have to do this, this, and this in order to meet your goals, right? So we have to make sure we do that. We have that conversation with our sellers. All right, then we have to create urgency. You can't create urgency if there isn't a good reason for it. You've got to know the reasons. That goes back to shift tactic 1, right? We have to know our numbers. And as Dan reminded us, you've got all of those charts and graphs from MegaCamp that you can use as well, but you have to create that sense of urgency. That is also going to come in the form of your conversations. So when you guys script practice, are you script practicing objection handlers? Do you guys all know where the audio files are that I recently put in the PC library? Have you found those?
No.
Okay, hang on. I'm going to log into I'm going to stop sharing for a minute. We're going to switch over. So in your PC library, because you can do these in the car. When I first got these came from a bold my very first bold where we got this little like thumb drive thing. And I found this in the bottom of a briefcase and I remember how amazing they were. So I saved them in the library for you. And so they're in a folder called listing presentations, which I probably need to change that. And I'm going to change that today. And I'm going to leave them in the listing presentations folder, but I'm going to create an audio objection handler audio file folder. When you go into that folder, you're going to see all these little red headphones. And each one of those is an audio file of somebody doing an objection handler. So, and there's a whole other folder of them, just tons and tons of them. So when you're in your car, you can listen to those, and those are going to help you with your conversations to help you create urgency and deal with other objection handlers. And again, I'm going to leave
Thank
them in
you.
that folder since I showed you where they are, but I'm also going to create I'm going to put them in the script folder in a subfolder that says audio files. So they're going to be in that listing presentation folder, and then in that listing presentation folder, if you didn't know, Diana Kokoska's listing presentation is in there. And if you have never watched that, you should go watch it because it is absolutely stunning. It's amazing. All right. So then expand the options. We talked about creative financing. And I had Rhonda and Scott come on and talk about creative financing, and then also about for sale by or foreclosures and short sales. So we just need to make sure if those are things that you're interested in or they show up in your world, you know to where to get your resources. And then 2 weeks ago, we talked about bulletproofing the transaction. We talked about being proactive on the front end, and we talked about putting a place on your calendar for follow-up. Did everybody put a place on your calendar so that you are following up? Who do we need to follow up with during the course of a transaction?
Everybody in our
Mortgage company.
database.
Armand said everybody, yes. Ann said the mortgage company, yes. The lender. When's the first time that we follow up? If we're representing the seller, when's the first time we follow up with the lender?
As soon as we get an offer to make sure that it's qualified.
Very good, yes. And at that moment, we set an expectation with that lender, right? I need to have a weekly update. Even if the update is nothing has changed, I need to hear from you once a week. Because my seller, how often does your seller want to hear from you?
They're asking every day what's going on.
Your seller wants to hear from you every 30 minutes, right? But if we set the expectation with the seller, right? I'm going to check in with the lender every Friday, which was my way. I'm going to check in with the lender every Friday, and I will get you an update every Friday. Now, on Tuesday, when the seller gets agitated and wonder where we are, they can remember, oh, they're going to let me know that on Friday, right? So we have to do that. We have to stay on top of it and proactive. What happens when we see that there's some issues coming down the pike? We need to get in front of them, right? Is everybody pre-ordering title with your listings? Make sure you order your title, pre-order your title ahead of time. Have a relationship with the title company and pre-order title. Why do we want to pre-order title?
Make it quicker to close.
It'll make it quicker to close. Yeah. What else?
To see if there's any liens or second mortgages or judgments that you didn't know about.
Exactly. Even that the seller didn't know about. I've told you guys the story about my seller that had $55,000 in IRS tax liens against their real estate. They knew they owed the IRS. They just didn't realize it was a lien on their real estate, right? It would have, well, almost blew up the deal the way it was. Also, don't forget those, what was it called in 2008, 2010, the loan forgiveness? Most of that loan forgiveness is a silent second mortgage. It's sitting out there, right? The sellers may have completely forgot about it, and it's sitting out there as a second mortgage. So mechanics liens, those are another things that'll show up, right? If they didn't realize there was a mechanics lien. So you need to pre-order the title, and that way you don't have a problem on the back end. What else can we do to bulletproof the transaction? What happens to some, maybe all buyers, but first time home buyers right after they made their offer.
They go open a credit card.
They panic and want out of the deal.
Both, right? Either or, right? You hit two really good ones. One is they want to buy furniture, so they go to a furniture
They
store
wanna
and they
go
open a line
shop.
of credit to go buy new furniture for their house. No, no, no. Yes, they get scared, right? They have buyer's remorse. They get scared and they think they want out. They panic. How do we prevent or be proactive around that buyer's remorse panic?
We remind them of their motivation.
Remind them of their motivation. In order to remind them of their motivation, what do we need to know?
We need to know what their motivation is.
We have to know what their motivation is to begin with. Remind them of their motivation. Also tell them in the very beginning they're going to feel that way. It's likely. I just got to let you know, it's likely that as soon as we find your perfect house and we write an offer and it gets accepted, you are going to panic. You are going to have a moment of buyer's remorse and you're going to think, oh my gosh, what have I done? You're going to have some scare. You're going to be feeling a little scared. And here's what, it's okay that you feel that way. A lot of people feel that way. And this is what I want you to do when you feel that way. I want you to remember that I told you that you were going to feel that way. And I want you to sleep on it. And then in the next day, I want you to call me and say, I felt the way you told me I was going to feel, and we'll talk through it. Okay. If you tell them it's going to happen in the very beginning, it's going to feel a whole lot better for them. Right? They're going to know that this happens to everyone and it's going to be okay. All right. What else can we do to bulletproof the transaction?
Inspections, talk about the inspections ahead of time, repairs.
Absolutely. Talk about inspections and repairs ahead of time. I have got my home Michael and Bill from Brick Kicker are coming towards the end of October, and they're going to go through the inspections with you and some things to look at, look for, even when you're having your buyer, you're showing the houses and things. But we need to be proactive about that. We also, what do we need to explain to our buyers about the inspection reports?
It is not a list of everything they're going to fix.
Yeah, they have to understand what's the home inspector's job. The home inspector's job is to point out anything and everything. Could be maintenance issues. It could be anything. I always told buyers this. I bought my house 18 years ago and I got an inspection report and it was this thick and there were all these things wrong with it. And there were a few things that we had to correct. One was that they didn't have a furnace or a water heater because it was a repo and the people before it took it out, but that was one of them. But a lot of the other things, if I got an inspection today, 18 years later, it's still going to be in the inspection report. 18 years, we've never changed it, right? We've never done anything about some of those items because they weren't necessary. So we have to make sure that they understand what's going to happen when they get it. So when we bulletproof the transaction, then we make sure we get to the closing table without having to panic in the 11th hour, right? Another really important thing, well, always, but especially right now, is be very careful when you write your purchase agreements about personal property, what stays, what goes. And then make sure that your client, if you represent the seller, make sure that your client knows what stays and what goes.
You don't want to go shopping for a washer and dryer.
No, you don't want to go shopping for a washer and dryer. Lorena, have you ever bought a washer and dryer?
No, actually, in my whole however many years, I have not ever had to buy anything to anybody.
Well, I ended up having to buy a washer and dryer, not because it was my fault, but because it just was the right thing to do. I represented the buyer and I went on vacation the day after closing and they gave 3 days post-closing possession. So I'm on vacation and I called the day that they moved and they told me everything was fine. And then when I got back from vacation, they said, well, we had to buy a washer and dryer because when we got here, the washer and dryer wasn't here. And I'm like, why didn't you let me know that? Right. So I reached out to the listing agent and she's like, oh, well, they made a mistake. They'll bring it back. Well, here my clients had already bought a washer and dryer. So I bought the one that came back. You know, it was just the right thing to do, but yeah, it's no fun. It was fine. My daughter and son-in-law had just bought a house and they didn't have a washer and dryer, so it all worked out great. But in the end, you're going to be the one, right? If you don't pay attention to these things. But in the past, there was a little bit more flexibility because the buyers were panicked to buy a home. The buyers aren't panicked anymore, right? So we have to make sure if we're on the listing side that we are very, very focused on what needs to happen. All right, so once you guys get a piece of paper. I want you to rate yourself on how you're doing with your shift tactics. So we're going to start with, on a scale of 1 to 10, get real, get right, your mindset and action. How are you doing with your mindset and knowing your numbers? All right, the next one, find the motivated, lead generation. How are you doing on a scale of 1 to 10? 1 being I'm horrible at it and 10 being I couldn't be any better. How are you doing with your lead generation? How about lead conversion, getting to the table? 1 being I can never get to the table. I can never get them to sign my buyer's agency agreement. I can never get them to sign a listing agreement with me. 10 being every time I get there, I get it signed. Rate yourself. How are you doing on CMAs? 1 being I really don't know what I'm doing, and 10 being I am the best at it. I get it right every time. How are you doing with your objection handlers? Rate yourself. How are you at creating urgency, overcoming buyer reluctance, overcoming listing reluctance? How are you doing with that? And the last one, how do you feel you do with being proactive and bulletproofing your transactions? After you get yourself rated on all of them, if you would each tell me what's the one that you need to focus on the most to get better at.
Lead gen.
Lead gen for Dan.
Lead gen.
Lead-
Lead gen for me as well.
Lead conversion for me, but part of that, yeah, okay, I'll just say it. So
All right, lead conversion for Armand. How about you, Melissa?
Lead gen.
Lead gen. Okay, so for lead gen, what do we need to do to get better at it?
practice.
Practice for Armand. You need to practice your conversations to get your conversion. Okay. All right. For those of you that need to get better, need to improve your score on lead generation. What do you need to do to improve that score? What will move the mark for you?
Need to make myself do it.
Make yourself do it. Okay. What does it take, Melissa, for you to make yourself do it?
I don't know.
Well, Melissa, you told me you had a closing on Friday and you
Less
have
stress in
closing.
my life.
All right. You had a closing on Friday and you have a closing on Monday. Have you
Yeah.
calculated what you made per hour for those 2 closings?
No.
Let's
How
calculate.
do you do that?
Well, let's calculate that for a minute, okay? So those are sphere calls, right? You said that was sphere?
Yeah.
All right. So how long does it take to have a call with someone?
10 minutes.
10 minutes, okay. And then you have an appointment, and how long is that appointment?
That was about an hour, maybe
Okay.
more with driving.
All right, so we'll just call it 2 hours.
Yeah,
We'll just call it 2 hours. All right. And then are they listings or buyers?
both.
Okay, so
Yeah.
let's just do the buyer because the buyer is going to be more time consuming. So how much time did you spend showing houses?
I'm just gonna guess Maybe let's say 10 hours.
10 hours, okay.
It wasn't
And then writing a contract and doing the negotiations and stuff, is that another hour?
well, this isn't the first one. So say maybe 4 hours on the first one that didn't work out.
Okay,
And then for writing the second contract, maybe 1 hour,
1 hour, okay, and then closing,
1 hour.
1 hour, okay. So that's 10, 26, 27, 28 hours.
Uh-huh.
Okay, 28 hours. And then what was the commission?
Like around 6,500.
6,500.
Yeah.
And so 6,500 divided by 28 is $232 an hour.
That's really nice. I like that number.
Okay, so is it worth it to lead generate?
Yeah.
I mean, you can do the same math with an open house. This is how I figured out open houses were the right thing for me, right? I had figured out at some point in time, I averaged like $350 an hour when I did open houses. Like, what else would I be doing? I should be doing open houses 10 hours a day, right? I'm gonna make $350 an hour, right? So you gotta focus in. Yes, Lorena. Oh, you're muted.
I just wanted to interrupt. Did you divide 28 by the 6,500?
I divided 6,500 by 28. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So that's how much you make an hour. I mean, what else can you do for a living where you can make $200 an hour?
Nothing for me.
Awesome. All right. So what else do you need? What else needs to happen in order for you to move your mark on lead generation? We got just do it. What else? Do we need to have a system around it?
Yes.
A plan, a system. What is our plan? What is our system? All right. Well, that leads us into where we're going next, because where we're going next is we are going to talk about, this is something really cool. It's called solution focused scaling, and it comes from Psychology Today. And the MAPS coaches did it with all of the productivity coaches on Monday, and it was super cool. And so I wanted to do it with you guys because I think it's going to help you. And this you can do in any area or any, and I think Keen sent you the link to it yesterday. I also sent it to you this morning, so you should have it in your email. But you could do this for any goal, right? Like if you had a goal of, I know Melissa, we both had a goal for a while of walking. You could do this goal. You could do this for a goal like that. You could do it for any goal. But what I want you guys to think of right now is a goal for your business between now and the end of November. So you've got 1 week left of September. You've got 1 month of October and 1 month of November. So basically 2 months. That's the time bound piece of this goal. So remember, the rest of your goal needs to be, what's a goal need to be? SMART. Tell me what S is.
Scalable.
It's specific. Specific. It has to be specific. That's the S. Okay. M.
Measurable.
Measurable. A.
Attainable,
Attainable. And R.
realistic.
Realistic. Like if you're going to tell me you're going to close 100 homes before November, maybe not very logical or not very attainable or realistic. Okay. So make sure you've made it something that is achievable. Stretch. We want to stretch, right? Don't say I want to make 1 phone call between now and the end of the year, now and the end of November. That wouldn't be a stretch. That would not be realistic as well. So we got to be very, very good about this. So is everybody got a goal in mind? Who wants to share?
4 closings.
4 closings. Love it, Dan. Anybody else? Does that mean you're still thinking or you don't want to share?
I would like to get these 2 listings closed by November and get 2 additional clients that I'm working with.
Okay, 2 closings, 2 pendings.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, or at least like 2 active clients that I'm working with. I don't know if that's not really measurable, but
Okay. Well, it would be 2 contracts. It'd be 2 buyer's agency agreements or 2 listing agreements.
right, yes, that's what I
Okay.
meant.
So definitely measurable. All right, who else?
Just wanted to check, like, this is from like, I wouldn't have to necessarily do this because we had did this during the week, right? Like my goal was
Your goal could be the same, Alicia, or you could have another goal, because I imagine you're gonna have more than one goal, right? What we're
Yeah.
gonna come up with at the end, though, what we didn't do earlier this week is we're gonna do a sprint GPS. So,
Okay.
so what this would be your main goal for your business for the next 2 months. All right, so after you've got your goal, here's what I want you to do. We're gonna rate this on a scale. 0 being you have achieved nothing towards that goal, and 10 being you have achieved the goal already. So rate that on a scale of 0 to 10. And then put in the chat what your rating is here.
Excuse me.
Okay, Dan's got a 4. So you got a goal, where you rate yourself, and then throw that in the chat. We got a 2, a 4, a 1, a 4. All right. So the next line I want you to write down, what are you currently doing that is working or helping you achieve your goal? And then if anybody wants to share when they got an answer, share.
For my 2 listings coming up, I've been coordinating to get a roof replaced for one of them. It's already signed, the listing agreement, but we're waiting for the roof before we list it because I don't want to mess that up with the insurance. So in following up with her to keep that, and then the other one, I'm connecting her with vendors like you for staging and some repair work and stuff like that. So then we can pick a listing date. But I've already started sending her paperwork and stuff.
Awesome. All right, the next question is, what could you be doing more of because you know it's working? So Melissa, this could be how you got those 2 listings. So what could you be doing more of because you know it's working? And then the next one, this is one of my very favorites. I love this question. What have you done in the past that you are no longer doing that would help you get to your goal? Anybody have any thoughts on that question? Making enough calls outside of your sphere. I love that, Dan. How about handwritten notes? You guys, anybody has been writing them, stopped writing them? This is a great time of the year to, going into November, grateful for you, those kind of things. All right. So then the next thing is, what actions or steps do you need to move you up the scale? So you rated yourself a 1, a 4, or 2, or whatever you rated yourself. What action steps are needed to move you up the scale? And in order for something to be an action scale, an action step, remember, we've got to be specific. We have to know if we've achieved it. If I say I want to make more money and I earn an extra penny, did I make more money? But was a penny probably what I was looking for? So make sure you're specific with yourself on the actions and steps needed. All right, everybody got that part? Ready to move on? Anybody tell me you're not ready to move on? All right, so next we're going to talk about motivation. And remember, we talked about a couple weeks ago, we talked about intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. This could be both, right? So think about it both ways. Am I motivated maybe financially, and also am I motivated personally, intrinsically? So how motivated are you to achieve this goal? 0, I have no motivation whatsoever, or 10 is I will do whatever it takes to get this goal. So once you rate yourself, throw it in the chat. Got a 6, a 9, an 8, a 9. No 10s. Nobody's willing to go stand out in the middle of the street naked in order to get their listing, huh? That's what a 10 is, right? All right. So what are you willing to do to ensure you reach your goal? Remember, your goal is just October and November. What are you willing to do to reach your goal? Anybody have something they want to share when they get through with that one? Keep pushing to remember everything. Stop being afraid to do something in each category. I love that. Fear. Maybe you guys still have fear around your business. Yeah, a little fear. So we got to push through that fear. What's fear stand for? What's the acronym for fear? Is that an acronym? Is that what that's called?
Well, here's the acronym of what we're.
Yeah,
what
that's
we're trying
it.
to do.
What is it? Armand, tell me. False evidence appearing real. That's fear. But fear is real, right? We all have fears and we have to work through them. All right, so the next one, I like this question too. This is my second favorite question. What specifically are you intentional about doing that is moving you towards achieving your goal? And I have a typo on that sheet because it shouldn't say you're towards achieving your goal. It should say you. So what specifically are you intentional about doing? So, you know, in the morning, if you're in the 12 weeks to success, we come on and we set our intentions. And one of the things around setting an intention is knowing what would make it a win. How do I know if I've crossed the finish line? So we need to be very intentional. Intentional is going to usually require a number. I'm going to lead generate for 3 hours a day. I'm going to schedule one appointment every day. I'm going to write 30 handwritten notes every day. It has to be something like that that's very intentional. And after you have that, we're going to go on and we're going to rank ourselves on how confident we are that we can achieve this goal. So 0 means that I have no confidence at all that I'm going to be able to achieve it. And 10 is I have no doubt that I can achieve this goal. So once you've ranked yourself, then throw that in the chat. Love that, Melissa. 10. All in, you know you can get this. No, you can got it.
Melissa's a 10. Yay.
All right, so we have some good confidence. All right, what are you currently doing that builds your confidence? Somebody share.
um, educating ourselves, everything that we learn makes us feel more confident to be able to talk to people. And like every transaction I close or even just do, I feel like I learned something and I feel like, oh, I'm actually a realtor.
I love that. Isn't that a
Know what
fun
I'm doing.
feeling? When all of a sudden you're like, yeah, I know what I'm doing. This is awesome. Love that. What else are you doing to build confidence? Anybody have affirmation practice? Anybody tell themselves bad things or good things?
I'm
Anybody-
like working on my, oh, sorry. I was saying, I'm working on like my, like a confidence board, honestly, like a vision board. But I've put on there like some of the note card, like some of the cards I've received from other agents telling me I'm doing a good job and stuff like that. And I put on there, I'm trying to actually do somewhere I print off like some of my favorite reviews or something. That kind of just reminds me on the days that I probably haven't talked to somebody that's in my sphere and I'm talking to strangers, but I still am who I am, regardless if it's a stranger or my sphere. I still provide the same value and I'm still the same person.
I love all of those things you just said. A confidence board. That's affirmations to view. That's fabulous. And I love going back and looking. I love the cards. Like people write cards to you, and I love that I have them right here. So if I'm having a bad day, I've got cards from people here that people have wrote me, and that makes me feel good, right? Because I can remember why it is that I do what I do.
Right, especially a card from the agent, because it was my first year, and he had been in it. He was an older gentleman, and just the compliments he was giving me for how well of an agent I was, that really meant something. Like my clients, I think the clients sometimes, they're gonna love me regardless, which I love them for that. But to hear from another agent who had been in the game for so long, that was definitely a confident boost.
That's fabulous. How about listening to those objection handlers I showed you earlier? Is that something that would help you build your confidence if you could listen to those objection handlers and get comfortable with them? Script practice, does that help you build your confidence? Looking in the rearview mirror sometimes helps you build your confidence, right? Sometimes we got to remember what it was like. Excuse me, when we very first started, right? And how little we knew, kind of like what Melissa's talking about, how little we knew and how much we've grown. All right, what have you done in the past that you've stopped doing that helps build your confidence? Confidence is important, okay? All right, so this is where we're going to finish today. We are going to work on, so in beginning in towards the end of October, beginning of November, we're going to do our GPS for 2023. And if you were with me last year or you've done this with Coach Laura, a GPS is simply the same thing a GPS is on your phone. If I wanted to get from my house to Dan's house, what would I do?
You gotta know the address.
Yeah, I got to know the address. So I have to know where I'm headed. And then I'm going to plug it in my phone. And what's my phone going to tell me? What's my app on my phone? It's going to tell me how to get there. And then it might give me a couple of different options, right? Would you agree with me that sometimes when you put in an address, it'll give you some different options. It'll say, do you want highways or tolls? Or, it's going to give you options. Well, what we're going to do for a Sprint GPS is we're going to eliminate the options. Why are we going to eliminate the options to Sprint?
We got to get there fast.
We got to get there fast. And what sometimes do options do?
Delay us.
Do they distract us a little bit? Yeah. They create a confusion for us. Should we be doing this or that? So we're going to figure out exactly what we need to do between now and the end of November to reach the goal. Okay. And it's going to be very focused and very intentional. So a GPS is normally a 1-3-5. We usually have one goal, 3 priorities, and 5 strategies for each. we're going to focus. We're going to hyper focus for the next 2 months. So we're going to have one goal, one priority, and then 3 strategies under that one priority. All right. So let's go back to your goal. That goal that you wrote down earlier. So Dan, you're going to close 4 properties between now and the end of November. Okay. That's your goal. That's very specific. That's very smart. It's very tied in. That's great. Melissa, you are going to have 2 closings and 2 signed agreements before the end of November. All right, Armand, tell me what's your goal?
To get listings.
To get how many listings?
Oh,
Between now and the end of November. Smart. We have to be very specific and measurable.
3.
3 listings. Okay. All right. Valerie, do you have a goal?
Mm, 2 contracts.
2 under contract. I love it. Trey.
Yes, mine would be one, just to close this listing I have, and then by the end of November, get at least 2 buyers or 2 listings as well under contract.
Okay, 1 closing and 2 client contracts. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Mhm.
Okay. All right, Pamela, how about you, dear?
I'm gonna say for me to do 2 open houses every weekend.
All right. And Alicia? Remind me, I know you already did this, although you might want to focus in even more with the Sprint GPS.
Well, yeah, so I guess I will put down for as my goal is to have 3 client agreements. I would prefer one of them to be my first listing, but you know what I'm saying? But I will, as long as I can get 3 and try to be under contract with those 3 by the end of November, then that would help me with my goal. I went to that first time buyer seminar thing on Thursday, the classic. And there was a lot of great conversation, and they were talking about conquering that market of the first time home buyer seminars and like how frequently they do it. And I would really, especially for 2023, is kind of prepare myself to do once a month first time home buyer seminars. So I feel like a goal is to kind of like, besides those 3 agreements, I would like to, I don't know, perform my first, like to host my first one, or at least have it planned out to be able to host my first one.
Okay,
I would
so
really-
do you
I
want
really
to,
should- ahead.
you got to do one or the other, right? Because if you say this or that, what's likely going to happen?
Oh, I'm not gonna follow through with either
Right.
one because
So,
I'm gonna be spread out.
are we going to either have a plan in place by the end of November, or are we going to have one held by the end of November?
Okay, I get it. I know that. So by the end of November, I would like to have my 3 client agreements, 3 under contract. There you go.
Okay,
By the
3
end of
client
the year.
agreements. That's the sprint,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, because there's all kinds of wonderful things that we want to do in the future for next year, but right now we're focused on a sprint, right? So
Right.
we're focused, like, think of this, in that last stretch, when the horse turns the 4th corner, they don't start thinking about their training. Right? They don't think, they're not thinking about the next race. They're thinking about finishing the current race. And that's what we're talking about
Right.
here is what's our current. So we got 3 client agreements.
Right.
Christina, hello there, dear. We are talking about a sprint between now and the end of November, and everybody has set a SMART goal of one thing that they want to make sure they accomplish between now and the end of November. So that's where we are, Christina. All right. So you guys remember the one thing, right? Has anybody not read the one thing? If you haven't read the one thing, in the PC library, there is a folder called books, and it's in there for free in a PDF form. So you can read it without even buying it, or you can get it on Amazon, or you can get it in Audible, but it's an amazing book. But in the one thing, Gary gives us a focusing question. It's what's the one thing I can do that by such doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary. And that's what we're focused on here in this priority. So if, let's use Pam, for example. Pam, if your goal is to have 2 open houses every weekend between now and the end of November, what would your priority be? What is the one thing that you would do every week that if you did that, everything else would be easier or unnecessary?
Well, I guess the one thing I'd have to do is the beginning of the week, I'd have to find them. I'd have to schedule them.
Okay, so schedule open houses each week. By when?
Wednesday.
By Wednesday. Remember, we have to be time bound. Okay. All right, Trey. 1 closing and 2 client contracts by the end of November. What is the one thing? What's your priority? What's the one thing, if you focused on it, you'd be sure to get those?
Lead generation,
And give
Yes,
me more specifics.
just blocking off time in my week to make sure I lead generate
How much
Um,
time?
at least 10 to 15 hours a week, so that I can find leads and complete those tasks to get those clients under contract.
All right, so you're gonna block off 10 to 15 hours a week for lead generation.
Yeah.
I love it. All right, Valerie, what's the one thing you can focus on so that will get you to your 2 under contract before the end of November?
I have to talk to people.
Okay, let's be a little bit more specific. Remember, we got to be smart, measurable, time bound. What are we going to do specifically? What's the priority going to be?
Well, I was trying to think about when my time block would be around my day job and my grandkids and my shuttling my daughter everywhere she needs to go. So I'm working on that. Let's see, time block.
How many hours do you think you need to find?
Probably 4 a week.
Okay, so block off 4 hours on your schedule a week to talk to people. All
And
right,
I have a whole list of people to talk to. My database is full of people I haven't talked to in a long time.
I love it. That's awesome. All right, Armand, what's your priority? What's your priority to get to 3 listings?
Probably call more listing type listing generation.
All right, so
Uh,
listing focus
the-
lead generation, how much of it?
I don't know, another at least minimum of 5 hours a week.
5 hours a week. Okay, love it. All right, Dan,
Yes.
what's the one priority to get you to your 4 closings?
Well, I think my one priority needs to be that I make my phone calls first thing in the morning.
Okay, so we're gonna time block lead generation for 9
9 to 11
every day.
every day, every weekday.
Okay. Melissa, to get your 2 closings and your 2 client agreements, what's your priority?
So we can only pick one.
One priority. Yes, it's the
Okay.
one thing. If you did this one thing, this is a sprint, remember? So we're gonna do that this one thing we're gonna do, and that's gonna get us there.
So these are both low priced properties. So I feel like if I did an open house at both of them, it might be the easiest way to find new clients.
Okay, so,
An open house at both properties, once they list, would help me with all 4 things that I need to accomplish.
okay.
Even though I'm not a big open house fan.
All right, so how many open houses would that be then?
I'm just doing 2, 1 at each property.
So do you feel like 2 open houses is going to get you 2 client agreements?
Yes, I think it can.
Okay, awesome. All right, Alicia. What are we gonna do? What's the one priority to get 3 client agreements in place?
I don't know if I'm saying this right, but honestly, engaging with my sphere. I can't leave them out. They send me referrals. They send me everything, and
Okay,
I miss a lot of opportunities. So I guess I'm an hour a day, legioning with my sphere. It's hard calling it legion, I guess.
Okay.
But it's
Sounds like
more
fun.
like
don't call it
networking.
that then.
Yeah,
That's not it. It's relationship building is all it
Yeah,
is.
and relationship building and networking, I guess, I can look at it with my sphere at least an hour a day. Like
An
and
hour a
actually
day.
be sphere focused
I love
for
it.
an hour a day.
All right. All right, Christina, do you have an idea? What's one goal, one thing that you would like to accomplish between now and the end of November for your business?
I would like to have at least 2 closings next month.
All
Then-
right, 2 closings in October. How about November?
I guess I would say I would like to have a total of like 4 closings. So
4
2 each
closings.
month.
Okay, I love it. 4 closings. Now, what's one priority? What's the one thing that you could do if you focused on that, you would be sure to get those?
I'm definitely gonna go with lead gen because I've been doing so much training that I fell off the wagon this week. And then I felt like when I talked to people, I talked too long to each person, if that makes sense. In the sense that I called all the leads that I got, but I had a lot of lengthy conversations, which made me feel like I didn't get as much of the lead gen done as I could. But I still feel successful because those conversations were actual genuine conversations.
Very good. Okay, let's make that priority something that's very specific. So lead gen, what would that be? Would that be a number of conversations a day then? Or would that be amount of time that you're spending with your calls? What would that be?
I would like to do a number of hours. Like I feel like I only probably got in maybe a total of 3 to 4 hours of lead gen last week. And the week prior to that, I got in, I think 12.
Okay.
So
for October and November, how many hours a week would you like to make sure you get for lead gen so that you can get your 4 closings?
at least 10.
10 hours a week. Okay. All right. So now, did I hit everybody? Did I miss anybody? I think I got everybody. Right. I'm reading my handwriting. Yep, I think I got everybody. Okay. If I didn't, yell at me. All right. So now we got 3 strategies. So let me give you for example, how this would be. So if I said that I was going to have, my goal was to get 3 listings between now and the end of November. And I was going to add 5 hours of listing focused lead generation every week. Then my 3 strategies might be, strategy 1 might be Monday and Wednesday, I'm going to call for sale by owners. And I'm going to call 20 for sale by owners a day. And then strategy 2 might be Tuesdays and Thursdays, I am going to call around just listings and just solds. And I'm going to make have 20 conversations each day. And then strategy number 3 might be listing focused, stretching my brain here, expireds. So strategy number 3 might be that I'm going to call 15 expireds every week. Those would be my 3 strategies. If that were my 3 listings was my goal, my priority is 5 hours of listing focused lead generation. Now my strategies are going to be where that listing focused lead generation is going to be. All right, so think on that. And tell me who's ready to walk through it with me first.
I think my number 1 strategy is first to call around my open houses.
Okay, call around open houses.
Yes, the second, excuse me, is to call around recently listed and recently pended homes. and attempt to get people on a neighborhood nurture or find out if they would be interested in finding out what it sold for.
Okay.
And the third is going to be more blind open cold calls, pick a neighborhood and make calls in that neighborhood.
Love it. And that's exactly what 3 strategies look like. Now, Dan, do you feel like you have a sprint? Do you
Do I
feel like
feel
you have an absolute plan on what you can do every day between now and the end of November?
I do. Yes.
Okay, what we're gonna do then is we're gonna turn this Sprint GPS into a 411, which is gonna tell you what you do every day. And we will do that. I know when you and I meet, we're gonna talk about your future plans, but we'll also talk about your 411 at your coaching call this week.
Mhm.
So you could be thinking on that. All right, who else is next? Who's got your 3 strategies? Armand.
Well, the first thing, time block. Second strategy would be the last hour of the day to call both hot leads and expires, even though that adds one more time for each, and I risk overloading them. I might be able to get a few more.
Okay.
And then the third, to take a half an hour of my lunchtime and do calls around my neighborhood where homes have been painted or sold.
All right. All right, who else has your 3 strategies? Pam, what's the rest of your strategies around your open house? We have your scheduled your open house each week by Wednesday. What are your 3 strategies around your open houses?
That's what I'm sitting here thinking about, and I'm not sure.
All right, well, let me ask you a question. What are you going to do to get people to your open houses?
Oh, yeah. So the advertising for
Okay,
the open house,
and what would that be?
kind of walking the neighborhood and handing out flyers.
Okay, so you're gonna walk the neighborhood. So would you walk the neighborhood like every Thursday evening, or what would that look like?
Probably on Friday.
On Friday. So
evening.
Fridays, we're gonna walk the neighborhood when we put out our signs, yeah?
Yes.
All right, and then what else? Anything else? Are we gonna have a social media strategy around the open house?
Would be a good idea. Sure.
Okay. And then what about the follow-up after the open house?
I need to do it.
So that would be on
follow-up.
Mondays?
Yes.
So now we've got 3 strategies. One is that I'm gonna walk the neighborhoods when I put the signs out on Fridays. And then we need to figure out, and Pam, you and I can talk about this at your one-on-one coaching, figure out what will your social media strategy be around your open house, all right? And then
Okay.
on Monday, you're gonna make sure on Monday you have block time to follow up on anybody that you met at your open houses.
Right. Okay.
Do you see how that works now? Do you feel like you have a
Yes.
good plan?
Yes, I did.
Yes, okay, very good. All right, Valerie. You ready with 3 strategies?
I've got 2 written down.
Tell me.
Call my sphere, catch up with all of them, and in the conversation, ask them if they've been thinking about buying or selling.
All right,
And then, of course, if the answer is yes, then get it in writing for the future. And ask for referrals, and then follow up on those referrals. And 3's blank.
all right, so you're calling your sphere. And when you call your sphere, you're gonna find out if they have any real estate needs in the next 6 months. And then you're gonna find out, do they know anybody who has any real estate needs in the next 6 months, right?
Right.
And do you ever talk to people at work, Valerie?
I am teleworking full time, so we're all virtual. We do a lot of
Okay.
meetings, and I don't talk to a lot of people. Just
you don't have that
my immediate
opportunity. How about, do you ever go to the grocery store?
occasionally.
Do you ever go like out in public? Like, do you talk to people about real estate when you're out in public?
Only sometimes.
Okay, because that's something maybe you could be more intentional about in the next 2 months, is talking to people while you're out in public.
Yeah, I could.
All right, Trey. 1 closing, 2 client contracts, lead generation, block off 10 to 15 hours a week. What's your 3 strategies?
Okay, so for the listing, close that listing, just making sure all documentation is signed. I guess strategy number 2, make sure we're marketing the property. If I need to hold any open houses, finding a buyer. Strategy 3, just getting to the closing table as far as that listing, getting that deal closed. And then in regards to finding 2 additional clients, such as a buyer or listing agreements, just do it. I'm dual career, I have family. There's all kinds of excuses I come with, but just committing to it, that's my priority. Making an effort to reach out to people, to lead gen. Strategy, just make sure I'm time blocking that. Strategy 2, reach out to expired listings, social media, using Mojo. Farming my neighborhood, reaching out to people that live by me. And then strategy 3, just making sure I'm following up with those people so that I can set appointments and try and get that buyer listing under 2 agreements by that deadline.
Okay. All right, Trey. So this is what I heard you tell me. I heard you tell me that you're dual career and you have a family and you have a lot of responsibilities. And then
Yeah.
instead of having one focus, I heard a whole bunch of different things that you were going to do to find business.
Yeah, I'm everywhere with it, but
And here's the thing about a Sprint GPS. When that horse turns the 4th corner, what is the jockey and the horse focused on?
the finish line.
The finish line. Are they thinking about how they're going to get there? All of these different things. They're one focus, right? Go as fast as possible. And that's what we're working on for this next 2 months. And this is going to help you long-term, Trey, being dual career and having a family and all of that too. So if you could pick one thing, right? If you could pick one thing instead of expireds and sphere and like all of those different things you told me, if you could pick the one thing that you think would be most likely to get you your client contracts, you focused on that for the next 2 months. What happens when you're laser focused on something?
You get it done.
You're going to get it done. What happens if you have too much on your plate and you've got all these different directions you're headed? What's the likelihood you're going to end up at the cross the finish line?
You're probably not going to get started.
No. So if you had to go back and look at that list, Trey, and you were to pick one thing that would be most likely to get you your 2 client contracts, what would it be?
Just time blocking.
But time blocking for what?
For lead gen.
What kind of lead gen? What specific lead generation?
Intentional lead gen.
Intentional lead generation. Where did your listing come from?
In-laws.
From your sphere.
My sphere,
right?
yes.
So would then perhaps your time be best focused if you were to focus on calling everyone that you know?
Sphere, yes.
Sphere.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so could you go back and look at the strategy? We have a strategy of getting our listing closed, but you don't have any buyers yet. So open house, that's great. You're going to get lots of people to talk to at an open house, right? So one strategy would be, how many open houses do you want to have around your listing?
At least 1 to 2.
1 to 2. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll call that 2. Because 1 to 2, if 1 to 2, when you get 1, you're probably likely going to stop. So if we call it 2, you'll stretch. So we'll call that 2 open houses. Okay. 2 open houses. And then you're going to time block 10 to 15 hours a week to call your sphere. How many calls are you going to make a day? Or a week?
A week. We can push that up to maybe 50.
Okay. 50 calls a week. Okay. Love it. All right. So now you've got a plan, right? A very specific plan of this is what we can do. And I'm going to share this with Laura too, so that when you meet with Laura next time, you guys can focus on that 411.
Okay.
All right. Let's see. Alicia, 1 hour a day calling your sphere. What's your 3 strategies?
So one of my strategies is definitely the social media, like the play of the week for our social media, the 75 engagements in the post. I really want to start like being serious about that, spending like an hour a day social media wise.
Love
Because a
that.
lot of my sphere, we interact on social media, and that's where the referrals come in. That's where everything comes in. So to be specific, yeah, that's that play of the week that we had got for Facebook. That is my strategy 1 for an hour a day. My strategy 2 is to also spend an hour. And I mean, I got to make sure that I'm pulling them. I know a lot more people that are not in my database, that are not strangers. And so I would actually like to take time like out, and I'll give that an hour a day. So that's 2 hours of lead gen. But that an hour a day, reaching out to those people that used to either get tattooed by me or used to just, come over and party back in the younger days. But reaching back out to those people and just being like, hey, I just want to let you know that I'm in real estate, and just being excited about that.
Very good.
The third strategy, I am trying to put together like a referral program type of thing for my sphere.
Like a vendors?
No, just not necessarily a vendors, just more of a vendors would be smart. I would like to start doing like raffles.
Oh, okay.
Like engagement more with them as far as like referral programs. I guess I don't know if I'm saying it right, but just showing that they get something in return. I'm trying to think, a referral program. I mean, basically that's what it is. It's a referral program. I would like to try to start applying that.
All right. So you can become Alicia's VIP.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. I love it. All right. All right, Melissa, what's your 3 strategies?
Mine's a little bit tricky. It's the open house. Like Pamela, I was struggling. The one thing I have so far is to create a follow-up smart plan to follow up from people from the open house. One
Okay.
of my listings is really far north. So I already have talked to an agent. So if I get any buyers up there, I'm referring them out.
Very good.
So I don't know, like, if that could be a strategy. That's one of my strategies, is to refer out some business to hopefully
Okay.
create some future maybe referral business. And then one strategy, I don't know if this counts. I really want to buy some of my own signs. I don't have any yet. For the open house and for listings. I don't know if that's a strategy to help me. It just puts my name on the sign instead of the generic Keller Williams.
Sure. I mean, I don't think it's a strategy as far as, I mean, it's a strategy. It's not part of a sprint though. I mean, I
Yeah,
love
okay.
that though. I mean, I think that's awesome.
I need one more then.
All right, well, let's go back to like I walked through with Pam. So your talent, so your priority, if I wrote this down right, is that you're going to do 2 open houses between now and the end of November, and those 2 open houses are going to get you your 2 client agreements.
Yeah.
Okay, so in order for 2 open houses to get you 2 client agreements, what has to happen?
I have to advertise it.
People have to show up, right?
Uh-huh.
So what are you going to do? Your strategies are going to be, how are you going to get
Oh.
people to show up at your open houses?
I'm going to advertise, because they're low price properties. So I'm going to advertise them on Marketplace and Craigslist.
Okay, so an advertising strategy. All right, so that's one priority. What's the next one?
I want to have to make it, well, to make sure I can stay in contact, I want to create a follow-up smart
A smart
for the
plan,
people who
yep.
do come.
Got that. All right. And then what's the third way you're going to get people to show up?
Oh, third way to get people to show up.
You mentioned signs. It could be that I'm going to put out a minimum of 10 signs, or, because signs get people there.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to do balloons and signs. And I mean, look at the 7-level open house sheet that's in the open house folder, or in the MREA, right?
Yeah.
In order for open houses to get us business, we have to get people to show up.
Yeah. I could try call around, but I don't ever have luck because like, it seems like when I look up numbers in Mojo, there'll be like 2 or 3 phone numbers for the whole neighborhood. Like, I just think I have bad luck.
Okay, well, if you get 2 or 3, is that still 2 or 3 people you talk to?
That's true. That's more than 0.
It is usually, I mean, most math, yeah.
So I'll
right,
just
Chris.
call around then.
Oh, we lost
Neighborhood.
Christina. Did Christina leave? Oh, I guess we lost Christina. She left. Okay, guys. All right, so you got a sprint. How do you feel about your sprint? Do you feel like if you followed your sprint plan that you'd be likely to get to your goal? If not, you need to adjust your sprint plan. Now, once you have a sprint plan and you have a goal, what has to happen?
To execute.
You got to do it. You just have to do it. So what's the one thing that could get in your way? Dan, what's one thing that could get in the way of this working for you?
Well, I'm my biggest blockade, mindset.
Mindset. So what is your mindset around this?
Just not wanting to make calls, not wanting to get angry people hang up on you, that kind of thing.
So what can you do that makes that shifts that for you?
Well, I think you have to look at it more kind of like we talked about, and that is the more like the shells on the beach. I'm just turning over shells here, and one of them is going to have $6,000 under it.
I love it. You know, if you say to people, if people get angry, you can always just say, you know what, I am really sorry that I was just calling to help and that this made you upset, and just hang up, right? Just hang up.
Yeah.
I apologize if this made you upset. People just have bad days, right? And some people are just bad, bad
You know a few of those.
something. They're just what I don't even know. They're lemons, although I like lemons, so that's probably not a very good thing either. All right. Trey, what's the one thing that can get in your way of making this happen for you? What's going to get in your way of that?
It could
lemons,
be
Melissa.
procrastination
Procrastination.
or fear. Yeah.
Fear. Okay, well, tell me about procrastination first.
That's just being lazy, not committing to it or taking that action.
So what can you do to push through procrastination?
Again, just time blocking, finding motivation.
Trey, tell me,
to
why did you
commit to it.
why did you get your license? When you got your real estate license, what motivated you to get your license? Money. So
Yeah.
if you procrastinate and you don't do these things, if you don't time block for your calls and you don't make your calls, are you going to make the money?
I'm not.
I mean, we did the math, Melissa. What is it that you make an hour? What do you make an hour in your real estate business?
Like $250 sometimes.
Yeah, so Trey, $250. Is it worth $250 an hour to you to make the calls?
It is.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. All right,
Sounds
then
like
fear.
good money.
Tell me about fear.
Just having those limiting beliefs that, again, like what was just said, rejections, getting cussed out. But I think it's just something you have to go through to get comfortable and get used to it.
Well, you have to remember what your goal is, right? And your goal is to get 60 conversations. 60 conversations will get you one appointment. So whether it's a nasty conversation or a positive conversation, it still counts.
Right.
So if you think of it as a win, even it doesn't feel like a win, maybe that helps. All right, Alicia,
Okay.
what's going to get in your way?
It would be mindset. I tend to say a combination. My perfectionism is still it's the heaviest weight on my shoulders. And because of that, because of something, if I feel like something's not perfect, and that goes with my social media posting. I am such a branding person. I love branding. I've always been a personal brand. I have to have my content has to be color paletted and logo branded out. But I tend to let those details stop me from fully engaging. And so I understand that, there's fixing the branding problem, but it becomes a limited belief of me being perfect, and that's what's going to stop me more than me actually having matching content and shirts and stuff. I tend to be like, oh well, I can't, and I got too many burdens, and this ain't the right time, and then I get caught up in a cycle, and so I, to be able to work on that, I was watching some motivational video, and it's crazy how little or simple it is, but Nike, just do it. And I realized that when I'm facing a moment where I'm having to make my calls, post something on social media, get engagement, there has to be like that quick second where I can just be like, just do it. And once I can, I feel like it'd be different if somebody was here, or if, my daughter knew how to say those words. But sometimes saying just do it in a moment where I'm procrastinating, in a moment where I'm, bullshitting, I guess, or whatever, it kind of does get me to do it. It does, like, just do one. And once I
love it.
get that,
I have a suggestion for you, Alicia. What if you set an alert for yourself that said that? Or do you have an Alexa or a Google or?
Yeah, I have a Google.
Have her tell you.
That's actually a good idea, actually.
All right, Pam, what's going to get in your way?
Giving up when I reach out to agents about holding the open house and I don't hear back from them. I tend to just give up and don't continue to look for others because I found one that I want to do. I reach out to that agent, I don't hear from them. I don't necessarily follow up. So that usually gets in my way from finding one.
All right, what's your solution?
Don't give up and then have several that I reach out to
No,
versus
just
one.
pick one. I would pick seven. And here's the thing, Pam, if you reach out to 10 and 6 come back and say yes, just let me know. I'll find somebody to help do those open houses. No big deal.
Okay, sounds good.
You can't get
Okay.
too many.
Right.
All right, Armand, what's going to get in the way?
Well, I tend to procrastinate.
All right,
Which
you
I
and
think
Trey
is
are
part
the
of what everybody
procrastination
is
train.
saying. So I need to, the reason I procrastinate is because of, I don't know, probably fear. So I need to come up with something that I can tell myself that will get me past that.
What are you going to tell yourself to get yourself past that? What can you tell yourself?
Well, sometimes I can just, come on, let's just get it done. And that's all it takes. But sometimes it takes more than that. So I got to come up with something else. I mean, I'm listening to everybody else, but it didn't give me an idea how to handle myself,
Okay.
I guess. So I have to work on that one. I have to focus on coming up with a solution on that.
Hey, girl. So
Very good. All right, Valerie, what's going to get in your way?
Me and
You,
technology.
tell me more about you. How are you going to get in your way?
Because I'll keep working at my day job, and next thing I know, it's 5 o'clock, and I gotta go do dinner. I gotta do this, gotta do that. And I don't.
All right. So we calculated earlier what Melissa makes per hour when she works in her real estate business. How does $2.50 an hour compare to your day job? Same?
Oh no, it's more like. I have to do that math.
All right. So is it worth it to spend an hour at the potential of $2.50 an hour?
Yes, it is, because
that
I really
change-
want to build a house. I
There
have my
you go.
land. I want to build the house.
So you want to build the house at $2.50 an hour. How many hours would it take to build a house?
After taxes, probably twice as many as I think.
Okay. But you have a goal, right? So is it,
Yeah.
so if you focused on building a house and $2.50 an hour, would that help you get that hour in?
It would.
Okay. All right. I love it. Melissa, what's going to get in your way? You were showing me pictures of your kiddos earlier, weren't you?
Yeah. I always and forever have a I have more on my plate than I can carry, always and forever. That's not going to get any better. So I have accepted that. So I just have to learn to juggle and balance more.
And leverage. Leverage
Yeah,
is something that helps with that.
yeah, leverage is good. Sometimes it takes money to be able to get leverage. So,
Right, except for I love the fact that one of your priorities is leverage because it's the smart plan, right?
yes,
And
yes.
that doesn't cost you anything.
No, no, just time, which,
And
I just need
technically,
to-
you told me some other leverage because you told me that your listing is up north, and so you've already pre-arranged with another agent to help with that. So that's leverage, right? So you're
Yeah.
doing all the right things.
Okay. Yeah, the schedule and everything is my struggle. So I just need to prioritize my needs a little bit more than I typically do. And make sure that I get that time to get my stuff done that I need to do. So, if I have to lessen something over here to make $250 an hour, that would help me more in the long run than making sure I got all the laundry caught up right now. So I just need to keep that mindset that sitting here would help us in the future. So I might make a note or something and tape it to my computer.
Okay,
Like,
I love that.
$250 or
$250 an hour. What did I do for $250 an hour today? Okay.
I sell a couple more houses, I can hire somebody to clean my house. So
Yes, absolutely.
or shuffle these munchkins around.
And cook for you.
But
And cook for you too.
And cook for you too. I
that
love
would
it.
be nice. That's a few more houses, I think.
All right. Here's one thing I want to tell you. Yesterday when I called with Scott Toombs, basically he told us that the average agent, on average, agents get one new piece of business just from the first step to bold. And the first step to bold is from 9 to 2:30. In Louisville, it's on Monday, the 3rd of October, and in Indy, it is the 12th of October. So even if you're dual career, if it's at all possible, and you'd like to get that one piece of business that's going to close before the end of the year, please make sure that you've signed up for the first step to bold. I just put the links in the chat. It's free. He is so dynamic and it's just going to be so good. And I have FOMO for everyone that you're going to miss out on this opportunity. Because if you go to the first step of bold and you go all in and engage yourself, you're going to earn a commission based on being there. So please do that for yourself. Invest in yourself. I know it's really hard when you have to take a day off because your days off are for your family or whatever, but this would be for your family. What would it do for your family if you had an extra $5,000 or $6,000 between now and the end of the year? So
Yeah.
I'm going to end with that. And then also the fact that, in the last shift, 330,000 agents left the industry, and they're expecting a similar or greater exodus during this shift. So you have to decide now, what do you want? Do you want to be a year from now still in real estate, or do you want to be one that has decided this is not working for you? And I want to make sure you guys all make it, because you guys have all the right stuff. You guys just put together an amazing sprint plan to get to the end of the year. So I'm super excited about you guys. Thank you for being here this morning. If you need anything this weekend, text me. Have an awesome weekend. I gave you 6 minutes of your life back.
Can I talk to you in one of those minutes, Carla?
You can. I do want to tell you 2 other things real quick. One, thank you for the survey. There is no group coaching this Tuesday because this is the in-person week for your team meetings in your market center. So we won't have Tuesday, 10 o'clock. Well, we're no longer going to have Tuesday, 10 o'clock coaching. We're going to move it to 3 o'clock on Tuesdays for the time being. From 3 to 4, we're going to do group coaching starting in October. It'll be the second week of October because the first week of October, I'm on vacation. And we'll see how that works and if that works better in everyone's schedule. Also, this Saturday workshop is going to go to twice a month. So give you some of your time back. You can have open houses. I know as we go into the winter months, you have to move your open houses up earlier to stay in daylight hours. So We're just gonna move the workshops to two Saturdays a month. So, and I'll have a schedule out for you guys for October shortly. Go have an amazing weekend. Pam, what can I do for you, dear?
So my new client, they're not happy with my lender recommendation.
Okay.
And so I know you gave me another, which I've already reached out to, what is her name? I just texted her a little while ago and she's gonna call me so I can get to know her.
Cheryl?
Cheryl.
All right. Well, let me also send you Colin. Remember, Colin was on with us a little while ago from Approved Mortgage, and he was really awesome.
Okay,
And sometimes it's not a big deal, right? It's a personality thing. It's a program
Yes.
thing. And you just have to let them know that's no problem at all. You know, not
Okay.
everybody's gonna like everybody. That's why I have several. That's why I have several in my arsenal. The other one would be to apply for Keller Mortgage. They can do that straight from your app on the phone. And the reason why they might want to do that is Keller Mortgage has no loan origination fee. So if they're looking for a $250,000 house, that's going to save them $2,500.
Okay, and what about, did you say something about with first-time buyers? Is Keller Mortgage good with that?
I mean,
or-
everybody, they're just going to have a down payment. They're not going to have a no down payment loan program.
Okay, and so they're interested in the no down
No
payment
down payment.
program.
So Colin or Cheryl would be
Okay,
options there.
okay. Well, I'm gonna talk to Cheryl today so I can just, at least we can get to know each other before I give her the
Yeah.
contact information to my client, but
She's I'll tell you the difference between Colin and Cheryl is Colin's a younger guy and he might relate to them on a one-on-one basis, you know, like
okay,
a peer basis.
okay. All right.
And Cheryl is gonna mom them.
Okay, well, maybe I will give them both. I will give them
Yeah,
the
and tell them
option.
that. Tell them that
Yeah.
distinction. They both
Okay,
have great programs for first-time home buyers. Cheryl's going to be more like your mom type, and Colin's going to be more like your age, you know, your peer, that kind of thing.
okay, that's perfect. Okay. All right, and I did get the contact you just sent me, so thank
Awesome.
you.
All right,
Okay,
dear.
thanks, Carla. Okay, bye.
Bye-bye. How are you doing, Miss Valerie? It's good to see you.
Hi, it's good to see you too. I intentionally came today. Jessica
Awesome.
wanted to go shopping. I said, you'll have to do it when Rural King opens at 7 because I need to be back home by 9.
I love it. So was
And
it
I
worth
have
your
to-
time today?
Yes,
Very good.
yes. I actually did what you were doing instead of just listening.
Very good. All right. So now you have a little bit of a plan, and you know
I
it's $250 an
do.
hour.
I do. And I printed off seasons of the database